Welcome to another episode of GamerHeads podcast. This is your favorite host, Karrington, and with me I've got...
Whoa.
What's going on?
Karrington,
what happened?
What's going on here?
I'm running the show now. What's going on with you?
This is GamerHeads. This isn't the Real Dudes podcast.
Am I in the wrong show?
This is my show.
Am I in the wrong show? I thought this was my thing, you know? Like, I'm here, you're here, this is our thing.
Cue the music! Cue the music! Welcome to another episode of GamerHeads. My name is Roger, aka Rogue Leader 76, and with me this week, I don't actually have Matt or Jake, but I have a special guest all the way from Ohio, but he's not actually in Wisconsin, he's still in Ohio. Please welcome Karrington.
Hey. I'm Karrington, aka Desert Fury 90.
Yay!
From Real Dudes Podcast.
You picked up on the gamer tag thing. Nice.
Yes, sir.
So welcome to another episode. This is episode number 34.
Ooh, yeah.
And so Matt and Jake are not with us this week. They couldn't make it. So I asked Karrington if he could jump in. And actually, I think this actually works out really well, Karrington, because our hot topic this week, I won't give it away quite yet, but our hot topic this week, I think that you're in a good position to talk about it because none of us own the item that we'll be talking about this week, so except for you. So
fair enough. That kind of works out a little bit better. And I will say I do listen to you guys, and in the last episode it was mentioned that Matt to be Jake's secretary. I did go back and listen to it. but I will say, however, I friend requested Jake on Facebook and he accepted. So I have a way to contact him directly now. So I don't need Matt anymore.
There you go. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, he needs to get a Twitter account too. I've been telling him that he needs to get Twitter and he hasn't yet. So, yeah.
Yeah, I will say probably in his defense, I didn't get a Twitter until I started the podcast, and I still don't get Twitter, but I'll use it,
Oh,
I don't think I'm too old.
Oh, that's so funny. You're too old. What? It's funny that you say that because I actually use Twitter a lot more than I do Facebook.
I do that. I do now, but that's how I consume news apparently now. Is either Facebook groups or Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Or Reddit.
Yeah, that's true.
Reddit's a good source, too.
You belong to a lot of Facebook groups, so.
I do, yeah. A lot. We're in a lot of the same groups, too.
We are, yeah. So, a lot of our listeners that have heard our podcast before probably recognize your voice. We also do a podcast called Crossplay Compatible.
Yes, sir. Which should be coming out with a new episode soon?
Yes, I've been editing it, so.
Okay.
I'm still in the process of editing that episode, so. But yeah, that should come out actually this weekend. It'll come out this weekend.
Oh, sweet. Because I think I recorded that before I moved out, because I'm in an apartment now.
Yeah. So, Karrington, how's your apartment?
It's nice. It's a little big for just little May, but I love it at the same time. Because, dude, it's more like a townhouse. So I got a main floor, right? That's where like my living room, dining room, kitchen are. I have a basement, and then I'm actually upstairs right now. That's where my main room is, and then I have a little office area with a computer and drum set up.
Yeah, you have like a little house there. That's not an apartment.
And then my brother and sister-in-law are next door.
Oh my goodness.
I cannot hear them, which is fantastic. They can't hear me either. So I can speak as loud as I want when I record, which I often do.
That's awesome. Well, welcome, Karrington, to our show.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Oh, well, that's nice. So tell us a little bit about yourself and about the Real Dudes podcast, which I listen to every week as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, you want to start from the beginning? Oh, my mom and dad. No, I'm just kidding. I am in little old Dayton, Ohio. I've been gaming since, according to my dad, about 2, and it was Super Mario Brothers. It was the first game I ever played and picked up. So I've been playing games literally for a long time, and I'm in my late 20s now, so I've been playing for a long time. I'm a computer whiz, I guess you could say. I graduated from little old Miami University of Ohio, because a lot of people We're like, oh, you went to Florida? No. Ohio.
It's funny that you say that because actually one of my good friends is actually from he's from Ohio, and he went to Miami, Ohio as well. And that was my first thought too. I said to him, "Well, you went to Miami?" He's like, "No, Miami, Ohio." I was like,
Ohio.
Okay. And then
the difference. I was gonna say real quick. The difference if someone says I went to Miami University, that's Miami of Ohio. The one in Florida is University of Miami.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, Ben Roethlisberger went to your school.
Yes, he did. He often frequented that area in the whenever he could.
And you also have a very good hockey team as well.
Yes, it is fantastic. They went to the Frozen Four twice, I think, when I went there.
I know, because they played against the Badgers. I know this.
Oh, look at you. And another thing, while I was there, George Clooney filmed a movie while I was there.
What?
Did not see him, but it was George Clooney, and it was a movie. I can't remember the name of the movie, but it starred Ryan Gosling. So Ryan Gosling was on campus also.
Wow. Wait,
but
because he was in the movie or because he was just like hanging out on campus?
Man, I wish he was hanging out on campus, but it's because he was in the movie. He had this job. I never saw them though, but they were there while I was attending Miami University.
Wow. So you went to school in Miami, Ohio, and then you started a podcast?
That happened, yeah. So, I graduated in 2014. The podcast started in 2016, so it took a couple of years.
Wow.
Yeah, it took a couple of years. So for those who don't know the show, Real Dudes Podcast, we are an indie gaming podcast, trying to give a voice to the small little people that are making games, working hard, getting the grind out there. So the last game we covered was Celeste, which is currently my game of the year. And we'll record for a new episode as of this recording tomorrow, which I won't reveal what game we're covering. So you have to go over and listen.
Yeah.
We also interview guests. Our guests range from people that have been in the industry for years, so they may be big names. We also interview people that are may not be as well known, but still cranking games out there that we all know and love.
Yeah, and I mean, I got hooked to like the music from Bastion because of you guys.
Oh, thank you. And we actually interviewed Darren Korb, who made the music for Bastion.
I know, that was so cool.
That was one of the many surreal moments of doing the show. Like, he was a guest we weren't sure we were going to get. And so when we asked him, he's like, get back to me in a couple months. And we're like, okay. So Kyle and I were nervous because, we're big music people. We're like, oh gosh, so a couple months went by. We contacted him again. He's like, yeah, I remember. And then we set a date and did the interview. It was awesome.
That's awesome. And then you just interviewed Edith Finch, right?
Yeah, the creator of Edith Finch, Ian Dallas.
Yeah,
that was really cool. And oh shoot, I gotta email someone. Don't let me forget. I have to email our next guest to confirm a time for next week. Which that is a childhood hero of mine right now. So that is even bigger.
Wow.
Yeah, Jerry Martin. So I can't. Oh gosh, he's another music guy. He did the music he was the audio director of Atmaxis, first of all. So he did the music for SimCity 3000, SimCity 4, The Sims 1, and The Sims 2, including all of their expansions.
Wow, so cool.
Yeah, so I'm excited.
Yeah, so if our listeners should go out and subscribe to you guys, follow you guys. So there is yourself and Kyle. Can you name all the people on your podcast?
Yeah, sure. So it's myself, my good friend Kyle. He's in West Virginia. Then we have Cody. He lives 20 minutes away from me, and then my brother-in-law Andrew, who lives an hour away from me, but he's a farmer, so he lives in the middle of nowhere, literally.
And how did you guys all meet and start this podcast then?
Okay, so originally it was myself, Kyle, and two of our friends, Caleb and Jake. Now, Caleb, Jake, and Kyle have been like childhood friends since forever, and we met because Jake moved out my way, and he introduced me to a bunch of people, and then eventually they're like, "Hey, Karrington, we're gonna do a podcast. You want in on this?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." So it was the four of us originally for about a year. Due to some personal reasons, Jake and Caleb had to leave the show, but we're still friends with them. Like, I talk to them every day, so it's nothing big happened. They just had to, because of family reasons, they had to hop out. And then Kyle and I were like, we need more people. Let's bring it up back to 4 people. So we brought in Cody, whom we both have known for quite a few years. And then my sister married a dude, Andrew, and he expressed interest. He's like, hey, if you guys ever need room, I'd be more than happy to come on the show. And then I was like, well, we need another one. You're coming on whether you like it or not.
Nice.
So that's how it all happened. So now we've had our current crew since August, I would say. August of last year.
Nice. Yeah, and I mean, you guys have good chemistry between all of you as well, so...
Thank you. We try our best.
Yeah, it's a fun episode. It's a fun show to listen to, and you guys. One thing I will say, I wish that you would have kept your rating of the games with the drinks. I thought that was a cool.
Yeah, so did we. But we put a Twitter poll out there, and our community voted the numbering system. We were like, dang it. Now we gotta listen and do a numbering system. That's boring. But I will say for Celeste, we did keep the alcohol rating, but we did compare it. So there was that too.
Yeah, and I will also say that because of you guys, because you and Kyle particularly, you guys get me in a lot of trouble because I have to go buy all these games you guys talk about.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, well, I've done. Even when I don't have money, I'm like, okay, I need to buy this so I can talk about this on the show. So I know the feeling too.
Yeah. But it's fun. I mean, I've been playing games with you guys. Overwatch I've been playing, and
some Battlefront.
Yep, Battlefront, and I would like to play more Monster Hunter with you guys as well. So
yeah. I haven't played in a little while, but I'm itching to get back in soon.
Nice. So yeah, is there anything else you wanted to tell about your show?
Nope, that's all. I will say though, thanks to the podcast, I've been able to meet people like you and the other podcasts that are within the Crossplay Compatible network, which I think is awesome and fantastic. And I just find it crazy that podcasting is bringing us together and connecting me with just so many people. I think it's the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, I've said that before as well, and I echo that sentiment that. It's such a cool thing. It's such a cool community to be able to, meet people across the U.S. and that have the same passion that you do. And, I would not have been able to, I don't know, hang out with you guys virtually, I guess.
I know. It's so weird. I was just telling a dude the other, last week, because it's another guy I play online with. I've never met him in person. We're trying to get it together. It's where we do meet in person. But it's I'd say 90% of my friends I've made in the past probably 3-4 years have been strictly online people, and Kyle was one of them. I made a friend with him online, didn't see his face until a couple years ago, which is crazy. And now I visit his house and see his wife and kid once every other month or so, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. And I know we've talked about this before, but I want you guys to come up this way sometime. So
maybe I'm going to say this on the air. Kyle and I are working on it. I don't know if you wanted me to say that or not, but I'm going to say it right now. We're working on it.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I already have a bunch of different haunts that I'm going to make you guys go to. One of the places is a place that we went. My wife and I haven't gone there in 15 years. And we didn't have the kids this last weekend, and we said we're going to go out to eat. We went to this place called Rusty's Backwater Saloon, which is really out in the middle of nowhere. But they serve the best Bloody Marys, and they serve a hot ham and cheese. I took a picture of this, Karrington. I don't know if you saw that, but this hot ham and cheese, it's either with ham or with possum.
Interesting. I think I remember seeing that picture, but I was let's just say I was out with friends, and I don't remember the picture, but I remember receiving something.
So I'm going to drag you guys up to that place because it's pretty awesome.
I look forward to it.
Without Matt and Jake this week, we don't have the Game Dev Corner or the cooler, unique thing that came into the store or in Jake's collection because they're not here, obviously. So let's move on then to the GamerHeads News Flash.
The the GamerHeads News Flash.
So I have a few items here that I have. And Karrington, if you have any news stories yourself, feel free to bring those up as well.
All right.
So I'll go ahead and read some of these items, and then we'll talk about them. So the first one is a little political. I'm going to bring it up. We'll talk about it. I don't usually go into politics too much in this podcast, although I think if you listen to some of our other episodes, there are some that are a little political, I think, but this one is violent video game tax proposed after the Parkland shooting. So there is a proposition out there from a couple of Congress people that a 10% tax on video games with an ESRB rating of mature or higher, and that tax revenue would be used to fund counseling, mental health programs, and other conflict resolution activities in schools, according to the press release of one of the congressmen that is part of this bill. So I wanted to bring this up because if it's something like this that's a 10% tax and it's going to go towards helping people that may need help, I'm 100% for that. I don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with, though, is that these same Congress people are the ones that are taking money from the NRA, and instead of, looking at all options, the first thing they do is turn to video games and say it's a video game's fault, video game movie culture's fault. Let's not look at, let's not look at what the actual weapon was used. Let's look at the video games and blame them instead. And that's where I have the problem.
That's totally fair. I usually, I'm not a very political person. You won't hear me express my political thoughts, feelings. I try and stay as neutral as possible because I'm the kind of person I don't like to offend people. But when it comes to something like, video games, something my passion, something I love, it's hard for me to stand idle on certain stuff when it comes to expressing my thoughts. A 10% tax on something like this after something like this happened, which it's been said multiple times, people blame video games for the violence that we see in the world. And I think, in my opinion, we're blaming something that really parents should have more handle on their children's lives when it comes to video games like that. Because I see way too often a parent will go in and buy something like Grand Theft Auto for their 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kid. It's just not right. And now we're seeing things where maybe stuff like that has taken effect on a kid's mind and warped it in a way. And now we're blaming a medium that a lot of us really love, and it's really sad to see.
Yeah, and so I've been struggling with this for some time now, and I think if it came out and scientifically proven that yes, video games cause violence to happen, and yes, this is affecting the behavior of children or adults alike, I would be the first one to sign up and say, fine, you know what? My hobby is not more important than anybody's lives. I will, sign on to anything. If it's proven 100%, then
Which, by the way, most studies have shown there is no connection between violence and video games. Just saying.
Well, and that's the thing, right? So they've in the same article, they were talking about how this was in a USA Today article that 70% of high school students play video games, and of those that committed atrocities with mass shootings, only 20% of them play video games. So obviously there's not a direct connection there, and there isn't the science to back it up. But again, if it came out and it said yes, the science backs it up, yes, it's because of violence in our media, again, my hobby is not more important than somebody else's lives. But then I want to also say that on the flip side, these weapons that are being used to commit atrocities, I cannot stand and listen to people say my hobby's more important. You know, I'm sorry. There's nothing more important than the safety of our children. And that's all I'm going to say. It breaks my heart when I hear Congress people say we can't make laws. Laws are not going to keep the guns out of the people that want to commit atrocities. Then why make any laws then? And people are going to drive drunk. Then, people are going to drive drunk, so why have drunk driving laws? People are going to be doing heroin, so why have laws against that? Why don't we just live in anarchy then, if that's the case? If our lawmakers can't make laws that are meaningful laws to keep our children safe, then they shouldn't have a job.
And I will say one thing that did upset me, because Florida, I think was yesterday, had a meeting about, banning, AR-15s, which was the assault rifle used and stuff like that. It didn't pass, but a law that did pass was, I think they're going to start doing something about pornography because it has a mental effect. So they didn't do anything about guns, but they did something about pornography in the state. So it just shows you where their moralities lie at the moment after such atrocity happened.
Yeah, I agree. So, I don't want to get too political on this podcast. This is a video game podcast, but this does cross into the video game world because the same people that will not take action on, with looking at the assault rifles are pointing their fingers at video games and saying they're the issue. That's the issue that we have. And again, if it, I am not one to say, hey, if it prove 100% that this is what's caused violence, my hobbies are not more important than the lives of other people. And like you said, Karrington, obviously there is, some parental guidance that needs to be done here as well, of watching what games your kids are playing. But yeah, it just breaks my heart. And I hope that, meaningful change happens. And it's in the thing that I have hope is that these survivors are coming forward and, it's hopeful to see the younger generation standing up and saying this, enough is enough.
Yeah, definitely. I can agree with that.
All right, let's go on to something a little bit lighthearted. The Overwatch League completed its first stage, and its second stage of gameplay is starting. Karrington, I watched a couple matches with you and Kyle, and I will say I don't really know what's going on, but it's still entertaining.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's a problem with the Overwatch League right now. Like, if you don't watch Overwatch, or if you don't play Overwatch, it's really hard to get a good grasp on like what's going on, the way the cameras are set up, the way the announcers, the way they talk about it, things like that. But if you're like engulfed in the game already, it's very easy to just be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I think it's the first esport I've connected to because I actually played the game. But so I'm excited for stage 2. My team, Philadelphia Fusion, as of today's 2:21, they play tomorrow at 11. You better believe I will be there.
So the second stage, is it the same teams that were in the first stage then?
Yes.
So I don't understand this. So this is the part I don't understand. So there was the first stage, and they had this championship round. It was between New York and London
destroyed,
pulls off a win.
Yep.
I don't know how that happened. So then they like win like $100,000 or something like that.
Yep.
Right.
It's all about. It's like point system kind of thing right now to see because the playoffs aren't until I think like July or August or something like that. And so that's what it's all about right now is trying to win as many games as possible and as many of the like the smaller like stages and stuff for better seeding and a guarantee for playoffs and things like that. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess that makes more sense. I just wish that there was more. I was hoping that there would be like a Midwest team, like a team from Chicago or from like Milwaukee or something like that.
Interesting enough, I'm in Ohio. We're a Midwestern state, technically, I guess, and so is Pennsylvania, where Philadelphia is.
I don't. Is Pennsylvania considered Midwest? I guess maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. We're in a like us here, like Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, Pennsylvania. Like we're in a weird spot. Like technically we're Midwest, but we're like eastern part of the United States. Like I don't know. I don't make the rules. I just follow them.
Yeah. So yeah, that's going on now. Nintendo. This is an interesting article I read. Nintendo's ultimate ambition for the Switch is to be owned by every single person.
Well, good luck to that, because I'm sure Microsoft and Sony are trying to do the same exact thing.
So I have a quote here from Nintendo. It says, "In terms of corporate activity, there are a variety of risk factors, but if we can popularize Nintendo Switch among a broader consumer base, I think the problems will be resolved." And I think that they're talking about concerns about getting the game out there, getting the system out there. The marketing strategy going forward is to instill a desire to purchase a Nintendo Switch among a wide consumer base of all regions of Japan, US, and Europe. Our ultimate ambition is for the Nintendo Switch to be owned not just by every family, but every single person in that family. And then they go on to say that they see the Nintendo Switch to be similar to like cell phones, where it's portable and that a person will want to carry that along with them, and not everybody else in the family has a cell phone. So you don't have just one cell phone to share amongst the family. Why wouldn't they want a Nintendo Switch? Every person in their family have a Nintendo Switch. I think a big difference there is the cost. I mean, I know phones are very expensive, but typically if you go through like a phone provider, they give you some kind of discounts on the phones.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the Switch itself is $300, and that's just the system, not counting money you will spend on a game. So I don't see that being realistic. But at the same time, I can see what they're trying to go for, because it is, portable and things like that. I don't think that will happen, but I think they will be able to recapture a lot of people that bought the Wii originally. And I can see a lot of people going out buying Switches. I see it already.
Yeah. So so we'll talk a little bit more about this when we get to the hot topic.
Okay.
And I was going to go into my thoughts about buying a Switch. So I don't know. We'll talk more about that when we get to the hot topic. I will say, I think the hard part about this is, one, I mean, I can see the appeal of having everybody have a Switch, because in my household, everybody has a Nintendo DS. Well, my son doesn't have a 3DS yet. He doesn't really play games yet because he's only 2. No, he's 3 now. Sorry, he's 3. But he's not a prodigy like you, Karrington, so he doesn't play games.
Gotta get with it, man. Gotta get him started early.
But my daughter, who is 6, and she's gonna be 7 coming up here in the next couple months, she plays on her Nintendo. She has a 2DS, and then I have a 2DS, and my wife has a 3DS, and we all play games together. And I will say that's a lot of fun, because we'll spend like, when my son is napping, we'll sit down and we'll play a little bit of Animal Crossing or Mario Kart with each other, and that's a lot of fun. So I can see the appeal behind it, but man, $300 per family or per person in the family, like I can't imagine shelling out $1,200 for games for and that's, you're right, that's just a system, that's not any games.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I've already seen Nintendo trying, where people that aren't usually gamers have Switches. Like I already see it, and I think that's crazy and it's awesome, because I love it when people are sharing the hobby that I love, to death. But I just don't see that possible. I really don't. It's just too expensive.
Yeah. And
especially when you show off and market it originally to where people are sharing the Switch, I just don't see everyone in the family having a Switch, if that makes sense.
No, I agree. So we'll talk more about that when we get to the hot topic. The last item that I have here is that video games, the video game sales jumped 59% in January to log their highest January in 7 years. So I don't know if that has something to do with like the Switch coming out and people like seeing it on the holiday and saying, wow, I really want one. And then they go out and buy one. I feel like that has a lot to do with it.
I think so, because I'm trying to think on Microsoft and Sony's platforms. I don't think anything major came out during the holidays that would have caused such a huge significant jump.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think there was obviously some really good deals over the holidays. And maybe, with the software sales that probably helped. But I really think the Switch, and I think also I do feel that the Super NES Classic was really hard to find before Christmas, and now I don't know how it is in Ohio, but it's pretty easy to find here. I can go in any store and pretty much find one.
That's a good question. I don't know. I bought mine off Amazon, so that made it easy because I didn't have to leave the house.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think maybe that has a lot to do with it as well, that people were looking for that system. And I know that Nintendo has said that come March, they're going to have more of the NES classics available for people. So.
Oh, they better, because I need one.
So I don't know. I mean, I think that maybe all has something to play with it, or play into that higher January sales. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see if this momentum keeps going too.
And I will say, like, when a game does release, it seems to do extremely well on the Nintendo Switch. So that could be, like you said, a factor. People going out and buying Switches, and they buy games for said system because our mutual friend who I think he listens to he listens to the show, Mick Waits. His game Kid Trip, he said it did better on the Switch compared to the 3DS. And he said the 3DS came out in like June or July of last year, and then the Switch version of Kid Trip came out in like October, November, something like that. And he said the Switch version already outsold the 3DS version.
That's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's crazy. We'll talk more about that when we get. I think that's a good topic to talk about too when we get to the hot topic. But I have some ideas with that. Karrington, did you have any other news items at all? Did you see anything?
Kind of. I mean, like I said, we record for our show tomorrow, so I don't want to read too much of what we're going to talk about. But one thing that I think your audience will certainly benefit from: Shaq Fu is coming this spring, my friend.
I saw that.
The sequel that we've long awaited for. It is coming. It's coming soon.
Crazy.
I know. I never played the original. But I knew about it, back in the day.
Yeah.
I love basketball. I love Michael Jordan and Shaq and, all them back in the day. So I was aware of the game. I never got to play it or anything, but, the sequel, this is, is a big deal.
Was the game good? I didn't think it was good.
No, it was awful.
So, why are they making a sequel?
I think, I applaud them because we don't have very many terrible games out there that, and I mean like terrible games as in like, oh, the developer intended to make a good game and it turned out like awful, but there seems to be like a cult following for whatever reason.
Yeah.
The fact that we're getting a sequel, I have to applaud it and I have to buy it just on that fact alone.
Well, and I suspect that the sequel will be better because, I don't know, I just feel like they're trying to play into some kind of nostalgia and show, hey, look at, like, the first game wasn't good, but maybe the second one's gonna be good. I don't know. I have a feeling.
I don't care if it's terrible. Like I'll still play it and I'll riff it. I'll MST3K that game. I'll do it. Like I don't care. I fully, because we don't have enough ridiculousness. Because I feel like the golden age of gaming is gone, where developers try to take chances and try to do something whether it was good or bad, and I kind of miss it.
Huh. That's interesting that you said that because we had an episode we talked about the golden age of gaming, and it's an interesting take on that versus what I was thinking with the golden age of gaming, where It's like where gaming to me, I feel like, has become the popular cool thing versus when I was a kid, like it was uncool to play video games.
I could definitely see that. Because, I mean, I know people still today that stigmatize and stereotype gamers, even though it's much more widely accepted now. But those kinds of people, like, I've been around them all my life. So that's just, I certainly get that. But to me, like, the golden age of gaming was like the GameCube, especially the GameCube, PS2, original Xbox era, to me at least. Because, I mean, there was a lot of like over the top games that just did not take themselves seriously, like Destroy All Humans. I mean, that's a game that has a cult following like crazy, but we're never going to see a game like that probably for a long time. And that makes me sad.
Yeah, that's a good point. Huh. Interesting. Do you have any other news or...
I do, but I'm going to say this. You have to go to Real Dudes Podcast to go listen and find out. You like that tease? You like that?
I do like that tease. It's awesome.
Thank you.
All right, well then let's take a break here. And when we come back, we'll get into our hot topic of the week. Stay tuned.
Have you ever been reading through a stack of comics and thought, hey, maybe I should see what this Arkham Asylum game is all about? Or been playing Marvel vs. Capcom and felt like you were at a real disadvantage because you didn't know who half the characters were? Well, Play Comics is the show for you. I'm Chris, and each episode, I take a look at video games based on comic book properties and how well they stick to that source material. So, whether you know the comics and want to actually learn how these games work, or know the games and want to know what the hell is going on, go check out Play Comics at playcomics.com, the Brain Trust Bros Network, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
Hey, it's Karrington from Real Dudes Podcast, and with me I have some fantastic co-hosts. Guys, why don't you introduce yourselves?
This is Andrew, coming to you from Lynchburg, Ohio.
This is Cody, coming from you also from Ohio.
And this is Kyle, coming to you straight from the armpits of West Virginia. We are an indie gaming podcast. We all share a love for games, and you can check out our show on Podbean. Just search for Real Dudes Podcast. You can also find us on iTunes, Google Play, really any of the podcasting outlets that you like to use. Again, that is Real Dudes Podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you love video games, you will love our show.
What's up, everybody? I'm Tyler.
I'm Lucas. And I'm Chris.
And we're better than Static. We meet up once a week and talk about movies, comics, and video games.
I don't want to talk about that.
What? Why are you complaining about all the topics I bring up? I'm trying to sound professional, Chris.
But we're not that good.
We are too good.
We may not be great, but we are better than Static.
You guys can hit up iTunes, Podbean, Google Play, and YouTube to check us out.
Remember that feeling of playing an ultra-hard video game and dying? Over and over and over? Ah! Yeah, so do we. Listen to the Controller Throwers podcast on iTunes and Google Play. And check out the live show every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time at twitch.tv/TCThrowers. The Controller Throwers, pressing start since 1985.
So you've been listening to our podcast, and you've been thinking, you know what? I can do that. Yeah, you can. You can go through Podbean, our affiliate, and you can get 1 month free by going to podbean.com/GHPC. Podbean is what we use to host our podcast as well. On Podbean, you can host your podcast, and you can publish it there. It's actually quite simple to use. Again, to get 1 month free, you can go to podbean.com/GHPC. That stands for GamerHeads Podcast. All right, thanks everyone, and back to the show. And welcome back to GamerHeads, and this week's our hot topic for this week is why Nintendo is doing so well in the shadow of Vita's failure. So I read this really interesting article on Push Square, and it was written by Sammy Barker, who is the chief editor over there at Push Square, and he asked that same question, like why is it that everybody wants a handheld now that can play AAA games, that when the Vita came out, everybody was like, why would we want to play AAA games on a handheld system? And I don't know the answer, and I'm not sure if he even came to a conclusion of the answer. So I thought we could explore that today and talk a little bit about that. So why does Nintendo do so well versus the Vita, who really struggle and really kind of is dead, except for indie games that come out on the Vita yet. So
yeah, that's true. I just looked up a statistic while you were gone. It's, if I'm wrong, you guys can correct me. It was just a quick Google thing that I did really quick. I think it's only sold a little over 10 million units so far, so it's not doing well at all. And
the Vita or the Switch?
The Vita.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say.
And the Vita's been out for quite a few years.
Yeah. It's weird to me.
I wish I had an answer for that as far as why the Vita failed, or why. I mean, because this isn't Sony's first foray into the handheld market, and honestly, the PSP was kind of, sort of, I guess, marketed. Being able to push out so many big graphics on a tiny handheld. And I remember holding a PSP and thought it was really cool because it was more than just a handheld that could play games. It did everything. You could play music on it. You could put in a memory card.
Right?
And movies, yeah, that was a big thing too. Yeah, I played movies. It was a media thing, and it didn't do so well. As far as, when you compare it to, at the time, I think the DS it was going up against, and when you compare it to the DS, which is probably the best selling handheld of all time, yeah, it's a failure. But I don't know. Nintendo has a certain way of marketing things, especially their handheld stuff. They put their Nintendo polish on it. You just can't touch it. I like to think Nintendo's almost like Disney-esque. Disney, they do some things original, but they do a lot of things where they, take things from other ideas and they put their own spin on it. But when you put that Disney polish on it, it's just hard to compete with it, And Nintendo's the same way. When they put their own, they wave some sort of magic wand or something, and it's like poof, they do it better than anybody. And I think it's, in a way, I think Nintendo looked at what Sega did back in the 90s, because they had a handheld that tried to push out, at the time, Genesis-like graphics, it's stuff with what the PSP and the Vita did. The technology just wasn't ready yet for those kinds of things. And then Nintendo waited and waited and waited, and we're like, okay, we're ready. The world is ready for a handheld to push AAA titles. And they did it in a way that Sony would just can't match right now, because the Vita can do remote play, but from what I've heard, when it first launched, remote play didn't work super well.
It still doesn't. I mean, okay. I have a Vita,
yeah,
and you need to have your PS4 basically wired to your internet to be able to play remote play. At least in my case, and I've read that other people have said that too.
Yeah, and that's what I've read also, and it's. That's that Nintendo charm I'm talking about. You get a Switch, guess what? You got handheld. It looks probably 80% as it would on your TV, and that's saying something. The battery, if you're playing something like Zelda, the battery, sure, it only lasts 2.5 hours, but you're playing freaking Zelda wherever you want.
Yeah. So okay. So have you played a Vita at all, Karrington?
No. I've played the PSP though, but not a Vita.
Okay. So I bought a Vita several months ago, and my first reaction to it was, oh my goodness, I cannot believe how gorgeous these games look on the system. It really just, everything popped out, and just it plays really well, and I really liked it. And then recently I've been talking to Matt, and I've been saying, thinking about picking up a Nintendo Switch. And
See,
this is
that
kind
charm,
of,
I'm telling you, that charm.
but and he's, and rightfully so, but if he was here, he would say, why do you want to buy that? Like, you have a Xbox and a PS4 and a Vita, like all the games except for like the Nintendo first party games.
Mm-hmm.
Any other game I can play on any of those other systems. Why do you want to play a Nintendo Switch? And I don't know. There is something about it. You know how you tied it to Disney? I tie it kind of to Apple as well, where Apple will come up with a new product and like everybody has to get it. They don't even know what it's all about. They're just like, I have to buy it. I have to buy it. And there's just so much positive energy around the Switch that it just really attracts me, and I really want to get one. But then I will say, like, the practical side of me says, like what Matt said, I can play every game on the Switch that's on the Switch, all the indie games I can play on my Vita, like, except for, again, the first party games.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. There is something about it. There's some kind of appeal, and I don't know what it is. I don't know. I really want to Switch.
And I can't fault you at that. And with Matt, saying a comment like that, he's going to stay that way. I guarantee you, until he gets his hands on one himself. Because I have seen so many people say that, and just, I can't tell you how many times, like, our co-host Cody, he probably won't get a Switch, but whenever he asks me to come over, he's like, Karrington, can you bring a Switch, because that thing is amazing. You know what I mean? Like, it has that effect on people. Like, it's just something about it. It's the perfect single player system. Well, I shouldn't say the perfect. It's a really good single player system, but it's also the perfect party system to just be able to I can just pack it up, go take it over to a friend's house without literally almost no hassle. And then I can be playing games with, 2 or 3 friends, or up to, 8, 9, 10 friends, depending on the game. And everyone's having fun, and it's just really cool to see and bring people together and things like that.
Yeah. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's part of the appeal too, is that, I will say the controllers, look a little obvious. Well, they're smaller, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the difference between, the Switch versus, Vita. We can't really play 2-player games. You can't, like, take apart the controller, because it's all like one screen, right? You have the controllers on the screen itself, or not. I mean, on the sides of the screen. Yeah. But yeah, so, maybe that's part of it, that there's this appeal that, people can play party games with it, and people can play Mario Kart with just one Switch. And it is kind of a cool idea to be able to put that Switch down and have your friends come over and play on this little portable TV, right? I think there is some appeal to that.
Yeah, I know. I totally get it. And I will say, like, the Joy-Cons themselves, yeah, they're small, but you get used to them, and to lay down on your couch and be in any position you want to play a game is the weirdest and coolest thing. You will never, like, once you get a Switch, Roger, you will understand. Like, I will sprawl out all over a couch or my bed or whatever and just be totally relaxed and playing the Switch. Like, my arms are like sprawled out, or they're covered, they're like crossing over my shoulders, or they're doing crazy positions, and it's however what's comfortable to me at the time. I can still play the game.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing that appeals to me about it as well. I find that I play a lot more of my handheld systems more than my PS4 or my Xbox, because of the fact that, I can, at the end of the day, crawl into bed, pull out the, handheld system, either it be my Nintendo 3DS or my Vita, and get, some quality game time in, and then just put it down and go to sleep. Like, that's very appealing to me. And part of it is, and I think the other thing that really appeals to me, this is going to sound, I don't want to sound like, because certainly there's a lot of games like Zelda and even Mario, I think, that don't really fall in this category, but I'd like the idea of be able to pick up a game and play it for just 45 minutes to an hour, because that's all I might have in a day to play games. and be able to put it down. And there's just, you know, a lot of games on the Switch allow me to do that. And to me, because of my lifestyle change now, you know, 20 years ago, I was, you know, playing, you know, the Final Fantasy 7s and, you know, putting in hours upon hours until like the wee morning hours playing games. And I just don't have that time now.
And I think that's what a lot of gamers in your position, that's why the something like the Switch is so appealing also, because you can play. I mean, there's no Final Fantasy 7, but there's games like it on there. I mean, you had Xenoblade Chronicles 2, you know, on the Switch, which is, you know, a JRPG out there. You can spend the time that you have to play a game like that and not have to hog up, you know, a TV, a computer, or whatever, and you can still enjoy yourself. But if you need to just take yourself away for whatever reason and take care of, you know, the kids, wife, or whatever, you can stop immediately. Can you put it in a sleep mode, take care of your thing, and when you come back next, the game will pick up where you left off without, you know, whether you can pause the game or not. Like, that sleep mode is literally a life saver and changer.
And I get all that, and it sounds amazing, but I still don't understand, like, why the Vita didn't do well. Because I have Final Fantasy 12 on my Vita, for instance. It's a great game. It's a big game. And then I have games like Papers, Please on my Vita, which is an interesting, you know, indie game. And I've been playing Grand Kingdom, which is an indie game that many people don't know probably, but it was one of the free games for this month that came with my PlayStation Plus subscription. And, you know, I really enjoy playing, you know, on the handheld, but I think to myself, I don't understand. Did PlayStation just give up too soon on it and say, well, nobody likes it, oh well? And Nintendo put all their eggs in the basket. I will say this. I mean, they put all their eggs in the basket for the Switch, but I don't know if maybe they didn't for the Wii U or what, but that, you know, that was a failure. The Wii U was a failure. I mean, there's no question about that.
Yeah, 13 million units sold. I think in Nintendo's eyes, they put all their eggs in that basket, and it still failed, but it was marketing that hurt it most, like, big time. And I think for Sony, it's the same thing. They promised some things that didn't follow through that a lot of people were looking forward to. When you don't follow through on those plans, word gets out, and word of mouth is way more powerful than any marketing thing you can put out there. And you have this other system, the PS4, doing really well. If you're counting units sold in the whole console wars thing, I mean, PS4 is in the lead right now. And what's Sony going to do? They're going to put all their eggs in the PS4 right now.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, that's where their bread and butter is right now. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I don't know if Nintendo... I mean, so when Nintendo Wii came out, you had the Xbox and you had the Sony PlayStation try to mimic that with, you know, PlayStation Move and the Kinect. And it didn't do as well. And I don't know if that's a lesson learned, is that they're not going to try to chase down that same demographic with the Nintendo Switch. And I don't know. I don't think they will. I think that they you know, both companies say we are going to focus on our console games and not on handheld games.
And that's probably a smart move at the moment, because Nintendo, you know, say what you want about their consoles, they are the gods of handhelds. You cannot touch them in that market. You cannot. You know, Sony tried, Sega tried, Microsoft. There were rumors they were going to try, and then they're like, we can't do that. We just can't compete. And
yeah, it's so weird, isn't it?
You know, it's just one of those things. Nintendo they know how to do handhelds super well, and tip the hat off to them for thinking of a hybrid unit and pulling it off. Because I remember when the original Switch trailer came out back in October 2016, A lot of people didn't believe in the whole, just it's docked, you can take it out, or if it's not docked, put the handheld, go in a dock, and it be instant. And then when the system comes out, people start testing it. It's like Nintendo delivered. It is as instant as it is in the commercials. And when you show something off like that and you follow through with it, that's all people want. That's really all they want. And when you follow through, it does leaps and bounds for you.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I think that they certainly didn't oversell it, right? So I think they said everything that it does, it did. And maybe that was part of the problem with the Vita, like you said, this whole idea that there's going to be remote play. Like, what a great idea to be able to play, like Horizon Zero Dawn on your PS Vita.
Mm-hmm.
But, only if, your internet's strong enough. I think that maybe that is part of the issue, is that the marketing was just there for Nintendo. And I do think that the other issue with the Wii U was that Nintendo really didn't do a very good job with cultivating a lot of their connections with the game developers outside of Nintendo, like the indie game developers and other AAA developers. Whereas now I feel like Nintendo really has bought into the indie gaming. And really, another article I read too was that, Nintendo is the place where a lot of these games are getting new life that have been out for a long time. And that's the other weird thing to me, is like a lot of these games have been out for other systems, but now they're on the Switch and they're getting new life on the Switch.
Yeah. And
it's crazy.
That's an interesting thing and an interesting phenomenon that I don't quite understand, but it's an interesting thing to see that games, it doesn't matter what the game is, people are buying it and it's seeing new life. Or if it's new and no one's ever heard of it, because it is indie heaven right now. If you're an indie developer and you get your game on the Switch, it is indie heaven, because people will buy it for whatever reason, just because it's on the Switch. If you release on the PC, Xbox, or PS4, it doesn't matter. It will sell better on the Switch. It's been proven multiple times.
Yeah, and that's weird to me too. So, we talked about how our friend Mick Waits, had Kid Trip on the 3DS, and then it's just doing so much better on the Switch. And I know, like, Jules Watson from Atui, previously of Renegade Kid, who makes games like Mutant Mudds and Chicken Wiggle and games like that. I know that he's coming out with Xenodrifter, or he did actually. It's out on the Switch now.
Yeah, it's out on the Switch, yeah.
And my first thought was, well, maybe if you were an indie developer in the beginning of the Switch life, you'll do well. But now that the Switch has some of the first party big games and even third party big games, maybe the indie market won't do as well because there's a lot of games to choose from. But I don't know. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe a lot of these indies are still finding, life in the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, as far as I know. I mean, as long as your game is around a 6 or 7, as far as ratings are concerned, out of 10, you'll do just fine sales-wise.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I will say, too, like, I am guilty of it as well. There are games that I own on PC or Xbox or whatever that I've bought in the past. I have bought them again on the Switch just for the portability aspect. Like, I can take it on the go and play it whenever. And, just be able to play those things on the go is the best appealing thing to me. Besides, like, I got to come home and play it. And then my life and schedule can be so busy sometimes where I'm like, dang it, I don't have enough time to play what I want to play. But if I have it on the Switch, I can just take it with me and people don't care.
Yeah. Well, listeners, we'd like to know your thoughts. Should I buy a Switch?
I think isn't that a question for your wife first? Like, should I buy a Switch? Can we do this?
Well, I'm thinking to myself, maybe some of that tax refund money, Switch.
Yeah.
But we'd like to hear your thoughts. You can reach out to us on Twitter at GamerHeadsPC. You can send us emails at GamerHeadsPodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach us on Facebook at GamerHeads Podcast. Before we go then, Karrington, let's go around the horn. It's only you and I.
Yeah. Let's go around the table, yeah.
yeah, the short little table that we're on. Why don't we tell people what we've been playing? Karrington, you can go ahead and start us off.
Okay, so, lots of Overwatch and Monster Hunter World is in my life right now. I will kind of reveal what we've been playing for our show. We've been playing Fe, or Faye, however you want to pronounce it, EA's indie game that they've recently released. So that review will be up on our show.
What are you playing that on, by the way? Are you playing on the Switch?
So, because it's a multi-platform game, I wanted to buy it on the Switch just because I wanted to able to play on the go. But Kyle bought it on the Switch first, so I've actually played it, and I'm going to give the aspect of a PC version of the show, of the game. Yeah. Which, by the way, is actually kind of weird. For a PC game, I don't have graphics options like I should on a normal PC game.
Huh.
So if your PC can't run it, don't even bother trying to get it because there is no options. There's no low, medium, high. There's none of that. But you can turn on and off particles, and that's about it, if I remember right. That was it, which I thought was really weird. It's not like an intensive game anyway, but I just thought it was interesting. There's no graphics options.
Huh. Interesting. I look forward to that review.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've written down my thoughts. And stuff. Yeah, that's all I'm going to reveal because I don't want to give away, because we're recording this before I record my own show, so I don't want to give away anything either.
You know, it's funny though that we're recording this before the show, but you guys come out with your show on Mondays, right?
Yep.
Ours won't air until Wednesday. So
I guess technically I could reveal that.
Yeah, you don't have to.
How's this? Celeste is still my game of the year.
Okay. And that's what you've been playing a lot yet?
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. Okay, so if you've made it this far in the show, which I'm sure if you're a core hard listener, you've made it this far, and if you have not played Celeste, you have no excuse to skip on it. It is on every system. You need to buy it, and you need to play it. And I have it on the Switch, by the way.
I have to go buy it now, Karrington.
Oh, you have to. It is the game of the year. Like, I don't see anything topping it right now. Like, from what I've seen, I've looked at the schedule to see what's coming out, both AAA and indie, both big and small. It's gonna
Spider-Man on the PS4.
I don't know. That's very Batman Arkham-ish to me, and I'm excited to play.
Too.
Oh, that's hard. But Celeste, it's such an emotional thing to me. Like, I had such an emotional connection to it. And that's why it did something different, and it tackled a subject that video games try to stay away from, which is why I loved Rhyme. Like, Rhyme got average reviews, but I gave it Game of the Year last year, personally, because of the subject it tackled, and it wasn't afraid to tackle it.
Huh, interesting. And that's actually one of the free games on PlayStation.
Yes, so you only have about a week before it goes away. So if you've got a PlayStation Plus, you have no reason to skip on Rhyme right now, because it was my game of the year last year. And I bought that twice on PC and the Switch.
Wow. Nice. Anything else?
Nope. If you're want to check out our show, just head on over to www.realdudespodcast.com. You'll find all the platforms we are available over there. And if you want to follow me, I'm Desert Fury. I'm at Desert Fury 90 on Twitter, and Desert Fury 90 on both Xbox and PS4.
Nice. I've been playing a few games recently. I've been playing, Grand Kingdom. So that was one of the free games that was on the PlayStation. You can get it for the PS4 and the Vita. So I've been playing on the Vita. The only thing I don't like is that it's not cross-save. So if I play it on one system, it doesn't allow me to pick it up. Where Bastion does, which is awesome. I can play Bastion on a PS4 and then pick it up and play it on the Vita. But I don't know if you've heard of Grand Kingdom. I've never heard of this game before.
I haven't, but would you recommend it? Like, for me to go out and get it?
I think it's free, so I would certainly yes if you have the PS.
Okay.
You have a PS4, and you have the PSN or PS Plus, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, then I would download it. It's an interesting game. It's an interesting twist on RPGs. So the tutorial took me about little less than an hour, I think, to play through, and you can't save it. So I was just like, oh my gosh, I gotta play through all this, and then I didn't realize that was just a tutorial. But it teaches you basically like the basics of how to play the game, and then you go into like you're a mercenary and you build an army, so you can go and hire different soldiers for your army, or different classes and different warriors for your army, and name them and everything, and change their looks and whatnot. And then you sign a contract with different armies and you go and fight. And I think it's similar to like Helldivers, where there's a constant war going on, and you join a side, and then depending on how many people are on that side in real life, it gives you bonuses and stuff. So it's an interesting game.
I might have to check that out. That sounds intriguing.
Yeah, I will say there's a few things that kind of threw me, like the fact that so the way that they have the battle set up is it's like side scroller kind of, or it looks like old Final Fantasy, where you have like your lines against each other, right? So the lines are the bad guys on the right and your good guys on the left. But if you're in the line of sight of one of your heroes, you can hurt your own hero with your spells or with your arrows. And I was like, oh god, I didn't know that. And you can actually get a trophy for that. Actually, that's one of the achievements, is to hurt your own ally. So
you gotta get that platinum, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I've been playing that on my Vita. For the PS4, I've been playing. Oh, I got what is that game called? Crossing Souls. Have you heard of this game?
No.
So it's supposed to be. It has a very like Stranger Things feel to it.
What's it called again?
Crossing Souls.
Okay, I'm googling this right now because you had me at Stranger Things.
Yeah, so it has that feel, but it throws a lot of like 80s references in there. It's like the Goonies and Stranger Things, kind of like that feel to it. It also has like very like retro graphics, so it kind of throws that in there too. It's interesting. I'm not very far in the game so far, but it reminds me of like one of those 80s mashup movies, kind of. I don't know. It was like $11, so I was like, I'm gonna buy it. It's $11. I'll try it.
I'm gonna go check this out. I think now I'm seeing screenshots. I have seen this game. I have not played it yet though.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I've been playing that, and there was one other game I think I picked up recently. So I'm part of the Game Pass on the Xbox.
Yes.
And so I've just been playing some games on that, and I played a little bit of Mad Max, because that is the challenge game this month. That if you play so many hours of it, that you can get put into a chance to win an Xbox One X. I did not make it very far. I got to the point where you get a body for your car, and then you're supposed to drive away, and I was like, this is really hard. I don't like this anymore. And this guy I work with, I was telling him about it, and he's like, yeah, that's as far as I made it too. And I was just like, I'm done with this.
So you're not alone then.
Yeah.
Have you, because I know you have the Game Pass, I don't have it myself, but I know what's on there. Have you downloaded and played Halo 5?
I have not, because I'm not a real big Halo guy. I'm not really a big first-person shooter game type guy. I do enjoy Overwatch, but that's because I play with you guys, and that's fun. And maybe I would like Halo 5 if I had like a group of people to play with. I don't know, maybe.
Story is garbage, but the multiplayer, it is still, in my opinion, the best multiplayer game of this current generation.
Huh. Okay. Well, maybe I'll have to try that out. I mean, yeah, it's probably free on the on the service.
Yeah, it's definitely there because I remember when I was looking into like, should I get the Game Pass? Should I not? The AAA titles I already owned, and Halo 5 was one of them.
Okay. But they are coming up with Sea of Thieves when that drops.
Yes, you better believe I will be on there.
Nice. I've been playing Guacamelee. That's pretty fun.
Dude, that game's amazing. I have that on PC. That game's awesome.
I was just really taken back by how really gorgeous that game looks.
Oh yeah, and the story is pretty good too, and it controls fantastic.
Yeah, it really does. So yeah, I've been enjoying that. So those are the games I've been playing. And then to get a hold of us, you can reach us at GamerHeads PC on Twitter. As I mentioned before, you can follow us on Twitch as well. That's GamerHeads Podcast on Twitch. And then the other thing I was going to mention is Karrington and I are also part of the Crossplay Compatible Network, which is a network of a bunch of different podcasts, and we're still growing. So if you're a video game podcast and you listen to our podcast and you're interested in joining our network, you can reach out to us and let us know. But we are on Crossplay Compatible. That's our Twitch channel. It's just all one word, Crossplay Compatible. And we have different shows running. And Karrington, this Sunday, well, this will actually be after this will drop, but you're going to be doing a stream of a I don't know. Have we decided what game was going to be yet?
I don't know if we decided or not. It's still in contention. I should be able to make it. Something came up. I'll be in Nashville meeting a YouTuber, but I'll be back home on Sunday. That's the plan currently to be in time for Crossplay Compatible.
Well, if not, maybe I'll stream. We'll figure that out.
We'll figure it out, yeah. But there's some great shows over on Crossplay Compatible Network. Check it out. We got Play Comics Podcast, Better Than Static, Controller Throwers, and Cake Bites. They're all fantastic shows, and you should check them all out because I listen to them all now, and I'm fans of them, all of them.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a lot of fun. So and on that Crossplay Compatible, we'll have different shows. We have our podcasts running on there, so all of our podcasts are running on there. And then we have different variety shows like Let's Plays and live streams of games and variety shows. So yeah, check it out. It's Crossplay Compatible on Twitch. So Karrington, thanks so much again for being on our show.
No problem. Glad to be here. I know we were on the show before, but I know some things happened, so I am now officially on the show for the first time.
You are. This is the second time, but officially the first time you're on our show. So,
yes.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and it was a real pleasure having you on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It was an honor, and I hope to be on again sometime soon. Hopefully with the rest of the crew as well.
Oh yeah. We'll get everybody else, and we'll get your crew on too. So it'll be a big brawl.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
I'm all for that. And then we can have the Crossplay Compatible Network, all of them on one show, and we could just it'll be like the news team on Anchorman.
Yeah, exactly. So stay tuned for all that. Again, for myself and Karrington, thank you so much for listening, and GamerHeads out.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to GamerHeads, and make sure you catch our next episode, which will be available on March